Hello. I decided to make a video today about the importance of the grief process. I am a person that likes to be in control. I'm a control freak. I'll be the first person to admit it. And the death of my son definitely taught me that I am not in control of anything. And I wasn't even in control of my own emotions there for a while. I tried my best to avoid the pain of grief, but there's no getting around it. What really made the grief process difficult was the insensitivity and the unkind comments that I don't know why, but there are some people, if they don't know what to say, they feel that they have to say something. And at first I thought maybe this was just my experience, but I actually read some articles about this. It's a real thing. It really is. There are those who they just simply don't know what to say, and that's why I wanted to make this video today. The best way I can describe it is that when you're going through, especially an unexpected death, you're confused, you're frightened, you're sad, you're just going through an array of emotions. You really are. The last thing you need to hear is get over it, or why are you still crying, or you'd be surprised at the things that people say. I got to a place where I was afraid to express my true feelings. I held my pain in. I had a bit of a breakdown. I left my job one day and I just never went back because I was so confused by things I was going through. I remember someone saying to me one day that if it was their child, they would trust God and that they wouldn't be crying like I was. And at that point, my son had been dead for maybe 3 weeks. I truly questioned my sanity and I thought that there was something wrong with me. And the more I heard these unkind comments, I just got to a place where I no longer I didn't trust. There were just a handful of people that I really trusted. And I did not show my true emotions. I held my grief in, I held my sadness in. Sometimes I would post some comment that I was hurting, but no one really understood the depth of my pain. Well, eventually I started to experience some chest pains. I started to feel very ill. I was struggling with sleep and I could not eat. And I just did not know what to do with myself. I felt like a fish out of water. That's the best way to describe it. I finally got to a breaking point where I knew that I had to go through grief therapy. And it helped a lot. It helped me to put a lot of things in perspective. But if I'm to be honest with you, I did not deal with the pain. I just did not want to go there. I did not want to face my sadness. I don't know if I trusted anyone enough to let them know how much I was hurting. There were days I wished that I just had someone I could put my head on their shoulder and just cry. I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this. But it's a pain that is just simply indescribable. Well, in November of last year, I was at work and I unpacked a nebulizer and I started crying. And I'd never done that before at work. I just broke down and I couldn't stop. A young lady, she ran to get the manager because she came over to hug me and I just couldn't stop crying. I didn't even cry at my son's funeral. And there I was crying with this nebulizer. And he came over and he said, come with me to my office. And someone stopped me, and it's like she was chastising me, and she said, "Why are you crying? Go and drink some water. What is that going to do for you?" And I got very angry. And I can tell you, I said to her, "What the hell is a glass of water going to do for me now? And how would you feel if someone said it about you grieving over your son?" You know? I know that she didn't have any bad intentions, but I will say that her comment, in my opinion, was in bad taste. And it was very insensitive, and that's just the truth. And, you know, my manager was nice enough to talk to me, and he said, I can tell you've been holding a lot in, and this is what you need to do. Let it out, cry. And I told him I miss my son, and it just, because of unkind comments like what I just heard, it was just heartbreaking. I didn't feel safe enough to tell a person how much I was really hurting. And it made the grief process longer, and it made it so much harder than what it had to be. If I had simply let my tears out from the very beginning, if I had simply allowed myself to acknowledge my pain, pain does not mean weakness. And that's the mistake I made. Well, after that process where I finally started to acknowledge my pain, I decided, you know what? If anyone has anything unkind to say to me, if I'm sad or if I'm not smiling enough for them, I'm just going to let them have it. And I'm not telling anyone to go yelling and screaming at anyone, but you don't have to be rude to anyone to get your point across. But I have decided that when I feel sad and it's okay. Well, what I can tell you is after that, I started to feel the relief that I wish I had felt a couple years ago. And it helped me to put things in perspective, and it helped me to feel more in control of my emotions once again. And it's given me the hope that I've so needed, because when my son died, it felt like my life was over and that I would never have happiness in my life again. And, I used to always question, what is the difference between joy and happiness? Well, I think I get it now. Joy is from the internal, it comes from within, despite your circumstances. Happiness is dependent on the external. And I have had many moments of joy. If I did not have God in my life, I don't know what I would have done, because living without hope, you cannot see a future, you don't even want to live. But because of having God in my life, I have hope. And I am learning, because I'm one of those people. I've always been inside my head. I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking. Even in my sleep, I know I'm thinking. But chasing the future or looking back in the past, and I'm learning just to enjoy the present moment. The past is gone. There's nothing I can do. I would always go back into when my son died. Why didn't I hear him having that last asthma attack? I could have gone in there and saved him, and I was very guilty over that. But I've finally come to that place now where it was his time, and I accept it. I finally come to that place where I accept that I was in pain and I was sad, and it's normal and it's okay. And I'm telling you, from the day that I accepted my grief and my pain, then my true healing began. For those of you who are grieving, I want you to know there is hope. Of course, you will always miss your loved one, and you now have to face a new normal because what you knew before is no longer. It takes more effort for me to enjoy things, and I have to be very intentional about my days. If I was to follow my mind, I would be in bed most of the time. But I am learning to try to pre-plan as much as I can, not overdo it because you want spontaneity in your life. But it's like if I don't get up in the morning to work out, I'll tell myself all day, when you get home from work, you're going to run today or you're going to do your strength training routine. I have to be very intentional about my life now. But it's given me the hope that I've needed. And I don't feel that sense of impending doom all the time anymore. I feel optimistic. No, I'm not smiling or anything, but I am optimistic. Trust me when I tell you that. My devotions and my prayers have helped me so much. The books that I've read on grief has helped me so much. My physical activity, my working out has helped a lot. Now I found myself getting back into the habits of emotional eating. And that's when I can tell you I started to feel that all that junk food and all is really not good for you. And I have found that the comfort eating has, it's just not good. So I've made up my mind that come tomorrow, I am going to cut all that stuff out once again and get back to where I was before because I felt so much better. So I share that because for those of you who are grieving, I want you to understand that poisoning your body is not going to help. It's okay to allow yourself to have some junk from time to time, but not all day and every day because it's just going to put you in a depressive mood and you don't want that. So I am very happy for all the lessons that I've learned. You have to face your grief. You have to face the pain of it. There's no getting around it. Norman Wright, in his book on grief, he shared about when you don't face grief and you try to run away from it, it's like standing up to a wave, and that eventually the wave will knock you down. And true words were never spoken. I'm here to tell you the wave knocked me down. I stood up to it for a long time, but I promise you, you can't outrun it. Everyone grieves in their own way. So you have to do what works for you. And for those who feel that they have the right to tell a person how to grieve or what, no, it's not your place. It's not your right. If you are not one with the gift of empathy, leave that person who's grieving alone because you will do more damage than good. Trust me, I was on the receiving end of a lot of that unsolicited advice. Keep it, it's not needed. It gets better as time goes on. There is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. When I feel sad and I have my moments where I really feel alone, I ask God for comfort. I ask Him for peace and I ask Him for strength, and He always gives them to me. As He said, that what does it say? My mind is so muddled right now. I can't think of all the scriptures that I have repeated to myself. But I have found that listening to sermons help. I've found that listening to music helps. Music of your choice, it's what you like. I listened to a lot of the music that I liked when I was growing up. So I listened to a lot of that. Many of you know I love Teddy Pendergrass. I listened to a lot of Teddy. And I listen to a lot of sermons. I like to listen to Dr. Charles Stanley. I like to listen to Tony Evans. Um, I listen to a lot of sermons and I love documentaries. So I take the time to watch documentaries when I'm at work. I have my headphones in, so I'll listen to them. But it gives my mind something else to focus on and not the sadness of my life. And I wouldn't even look at my life and call it sad anymore. I did at one point, but having a sense of purpose, it helps a lot. And like my goal is that, well, my intention, I will say, is to help others in the grieving process. I know that I didn't go through this pain for no reason. Everything serves a purpose. And, I have shared that my son died from an asthma attack as a result of smoking. I will share that information because it will help others. I know it will. So, for those of you who are in grief, just find that thing that you are passionate about and, just find that sense of purpose. Don't give up. Life is for the living. And at the end of the day, we have to embrace, what we can and be of service to others and never give up on ourselves because you know what? You're valuable. You have a lot to offer, and always remember that. I have felt so much relief acknowledging my sadness and my pain. And I have felt so much relief in admitting to myself that I was angry at all these busybodies that had so much to say. And if you did lose a child or whoever it was you lost and you didn't cry or whatever it was, that's you. Please stop the madness. Please do not inflict pain on others with your insensitivity. And I'm not saying this to chastise and to judge. I'm simply trying to bring awareness to something that we tiptoe around. If you're in church and someone says something to you about your grieving, you don't have to be rude about it, but tell them, I appreciate it, but and whatever it is you choose to say, I know what I'll be saying from now on. It won't be bad, I promise. Thank you for watching this video. Once again, for those of you who have been through this journey with me, I have poured out my heart and I have been honest because I believe in being authentic. I believe in keeping it real. And at the end of the day, pain is pain. And if I don't feel like smiling, I'm not going to smile. When I want to smile, I will. I just want to say that I do miss my son. I miss him every day. But what I have come to understand is that if I stay locked up in my bedroom every day, it's not going to bring him back. If I eat candy bars every day, it's not going to bring him back. If I go around angry and in despair, it's not going to bring him back. If I was to decide to hate God and not worship him anymore, it's not going to bring him back. There are things in life that happen and they happen for a reason. Someone said, and I have to share this, that they believe that when my son died, that God was trying to get my attention. I get so angry every time I think about that because I remember, are you trying to tell me that my son is dead because of me? Because that's how I interpreted that. Please be careful of the things that you say to a person in grief. It's okay to give them a hug. It's okay to ask them, do you want me to pray for you? No one wants your pity. No one wants you to come and sit and hold their hand 24/7. No. We simply need a little love and understanding. Thank you.